Welcome everybody from Mzansi to the world. It is incredible to have, we have almost 90, yeah, more than 90 people already online that have joined us. Welcome to everybody that's joining us. In the comments, just let us know where you are joining us from. I know we have quite a few audience members that are out of South Africa joining us this morning. Myself, I'm in South Africa, Gauteng. To all the women in South Africa that are building across South Africa, beyond the men that support the work that we do, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you with us today. I'm going to get right into it. Welcome to the launch of Mzansi led by her. We have so many questions around, well, what is Mzansi led by her? What is it going to be about? And how is it going to be rolled out? Well, let me tell you. Before I tell you, you do want to stay till the end of this conversation. And the reason why is because to the women that are not yet part of the Lekker Network, I have a very exciting announcement and invite to share with you at the end of the conversation. So stay tuned. You are going to be very excited about it. And it's going to be for five ladies. So please do stay tuned. I'm getting into Mzansi led by her and what this is all about. Now, Mzansi led by her is a catalyst within the Lekker Network. We're going to be focusing on four particular pillars. The first one being increased access. Now, access is a really packed word, whether that is access to clients, to decision makers, to markets, to capital. We want to bring in practical tools that assist South African women across the world with what they need to propel their journeys forward. Those are South African entrepreneurs as well as professionals in the space. The second pillar we will be focusing on is improving and strengthening capital readiness. I don't know who of you have watched the State of the Nation address, but we were informed that 60% of employment, South African employment, is actually contributed by SMEs. And that's an astounding figure. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because a lot of SMEs are looking for access to capital. However, it's not really that there's a lack of capital. It's more the readiness to obtain that capital. So the practicality that we want to be bringing in is how do we make SMEs, women ready, capital ready, and what do they need to put in place in order to obtain the capital that is available? The third pillar will be improving our global disposition. Now, the Lekker Network in its entirety is to connect South Africans across the world. And when we are connected with each other, the opportunities and collaborations flow. The fourth pillar that will be under Mzansi led by her is economic traction. Now, I do want to say we do have a lot of men in the audience this evening, and welcome. We want you part of this conversation. And the reason why is because we are going to be building Mzansi led by her alongside men as our allies. And I'm just going to give you a practical example of what that looks like. That just happened last week, in fact. In Gauteng, we had a Grand Prix networking day. And I was discussing with one of the gentlemen within our Lekker Network about Mzansi led by her. And he got so excited. His name is Anrich van Streep. He is an IP attorney. And he said, Sharell, I am going to trademark Mzansi led by her for you guys. And I was just like, that is what it is all about. Now, without any further ado, I am thrilled to be introducing you to my co-host. Now, it's quite goosebumpy for me to be driving this conversation alongside Deirdre King, who is the CEO of Change Architect and former MD of one of the biggest radio stations in South Africa, Jacaranda FM. Deirdre, toast to my co-host. Please do
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself and the panel.
Thanks, Sharell. You always introduce me so beautifully. I don't know why the goosebumps. You and I have had lots of time to drink and chat and all of those good things.
It's
So
amazing.
welcome everybody. I think it's really wonderful to have you all with us with this launch of Mzansi led by her. I think what makes today really important is that this isn't going to be just another conversation about empowerment in broad terms, because I think we've all heard it before, specifically as women in the business space. This is really going to be a practical, outcome-driven conversation about what really does move women forward in business and in leadership. And I think we really have the right woman for the right room for that conversation, because today's panelists are women who have built, led, scaled, navigated markets, created opportunities, and built reputations that travel. So what you will hear today isn't theory. It's going to be the lived experience, decisions made under pressure, lessons learned, and practical insights that you can perhaps use in your next move. So, what I'd love to do is to briefly introduce you um, to the panelists, and I'm going to ask the panelists when I call your name, if you would just tell us a little bit about what you're building or leading right now, where your work is based. Is it in South Africa? Is it abroad? Or is it across both? So let's start with you, Mabel, since you were talking about snacks earlier, and that's your line of business.
Thank you, Deirdre. Good everybody. It is so awesome and so exciting to be part of this panel and just to be part of this revolution. What a movement. It's fantastic to know that it is called led by Mzansi, led by her, but to know that there are so many gents in the room, and that's exactly how it should be. Um, yeah, we move as a unit, and none of us can do it without the other, and that's very testament in my business at Brown's Foods. We are popularly known as the corn dog people. And I'm lovingly known as the corn dog lady, a title that I'm happy to have. We are based Gauteng, and we supply South African retailers. And once we are export ready, we will be supplying the UAE and the US. But yeah, essentially, we make ready frozen foods for retail. And children love us and moms love us because we've made life a little more convenient, a little more high protein, and have taken one more task off of mom's plate, and put a little more joy onto their children's plates. We're a team that has many women in our factory because obviously we make food. So we support a lot of moms, but we also support a lot of dads who support a lot of moms. We have a very young staff complement, which is awesome to see. And we have a product that is essentially an American snack food, but is loved by many because it's so familiar. South Africans love their meat and they love anything breaded. It's why the Vet Cook is so famous. So yeah, that's me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to learn a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the world looks like for all those other female entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Mabel. Let's jump across the ocean and chat to Jocelyn in Germany.
Hi guys, thank you Deirdre for introducing me. So I'm just, I'm also super excited. I'm actually so excited, I'm shivering a bit. So it's so inspiring to see like just the connection of women and the connection of network with the Lekker Network and Sharell reaching out to us. So I've been in this network for quite a while. I think quite a while is 6 months, but we're fairly new. But just the connections of women across the world and supporting each other, and I think it's so important, this initiative to help each other along our careers and maybe mentor coaching, knowledge sharing, all of that. So I'm super excited to be part of it. Just a bit about myself. So I've been abroad, I think, could be 10 years now, 12 years. I lived in the UK before. Now I live in Germany working for Birkenstock. So I'm heading up master data management and product projects. So I basically work with the actual product of the shoe, type of projects. It's quite inspiring to see like how I can also be part of this and bring the challenges, what to look out for in this space, being also in a different culture. and how to navigate and also help the South African women, and not just women, but men as well, because they've been our allies as well. I've had a lot of men that's been my mentors and my coaches as well to help me in my career. So I think I can add some value, but also learn from the rest of the ladies in the Lekker Network, but also within this Mzansi-led. So super excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity also. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And now I would love to talk to a lady who said earlier, it's a cold winter's day. It's just below 30 degrees in Dubai. So let's hear from you, Kathy, on your colder day today.
Thank you. Thanks, Deirdre, and thanks, Sharell, for allowing me to be on this platform. It's an honor, obviously, to be here, and one that I don't take lightly. I was thinking earlier on what I was going to say, and this whole imposter syndrome kept on coming into my head, and I'm thinking, why are you in this forum with all these very, very, very clever people? And, you know, the world gives you opportunities, and you've got to be able to take them when they arise. Okay? I've been, very quickly, a little bit about me, I've been in Dubai now for 13 years, and I came from a very much corporate background from South Africa and in Dubai. And then a few years ago, I had to make a decision in terms of whether I was going to stay in Dubai or whether I was going to relocate again. And I made the rash decision in my old age to finally, eventually take a chance on myself. And it was such a big decision as a female, because it's not something I don't think that we are encouraged to do. We're encouraged to work 100% and get jobs and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But to actually believe in yourself enough to create a business, to start a business, and to go out into the world and say, okay, here I am. And now, you know, I need somebody to, you know, pay me so I can do a job. And that's been a massive, massive learning curve for me in Dubai. My experience in Dubai is what I can offer. Okay. I have gone through so much in the last few years here in terms of learning the processes, learning the systems, how everything operates in Dubai, and company formation. And one of the companies that I set up a few years ago was an investment company. And the purpose of that investment company was women-owned SMEs in Dubai. But it's not that easy. First of all, to find women that believe in themselves, that want the opportunity to, you know, to give them something that they're not sure about. It's quite a challenge. Anyway, that is a little bit about me. I'm available for any questions about Dubai. I can't speak about South Africa. It's been a long time since I was there.
Thank you, Kathy. And now a woman that I've had the privilege of working with in my career. Let's hear from you, Linda, that I know is also across the oceans.
Hey, Deirdre, thank you for this. Firstly, it's very early in the morning. It's 7:45, and I was just telling the ladies as well, you know, winter shall be over soon, and the sun shall rise a bit earlier. So I'm looking forward to that. So just as introduction, hi everyone, I'm Linda Reddy. I currently work for Nando's. 3.5 years ago, I had a wonderful opportunity to relocate to London to take over a global role. And my remit was all the way from the chili farms through to the sauce manufacturing to global logistics. Just some highlights about myself. I celebrated 30 years of working in corporate. I know it's just like unbelievable. But the reason why I say that, so I worked across manufacturing, logistics, banking, and then my last 12 years has been in food and beverage, which is Nando's. But in that 30 years, I've had to navigate corporate power. And it's been ups, downs, sideways, left ways, right ways, you name it. And it's navigating corporate power, and people don't talk about it a lot. We don't learn about it in our degrees. It's tough. It's really, really tough. So I'm very happy to be part of this network, to share any insights, to share any learnings. And I think the other big thing is South Africa's in my heart. You know, if we can grow small businesses in South Africa, if we can get more women to get global opportunities, I'm for that. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Thanks, Linda. And I'm going to introduce you to a woman that I met a couple of years ago who runs a remarkable business that's really embedded in empathy and purpose. So really excited to introduce Kimlin to everybody.
Thank you so much, Deirdre, and thank you for letting me be here. It is, as Mabel, as you said it is a movement, it is a privilege. So thank you. I'm here just as much to hopefully give guidance or, help add and contribute towards a conversation, but to be here to learn. I think we are forever learning, and so I'm here as well. Open ears, open heart, open mind to learn and grow as well. So just a short introduction to what I do and what Tipped is. I am the CEO and founder of Tipped. Tipped really, in essence, is a digital tipping and payment solution aimed at any service personnel receiving gratuity. So I think we've all been there, especially those that live in South Africa. You reverse out of your parking lot at a shopping center, fill up with fuel at a hotel, and you want to tip, but just, if you're like me, don't carry any cash. And so I've solved for that problem. But going into this, have solved for so much more. So it's going into creating ecosystems for the recipient, for the car guard, for anyone really that we sign up, where we are giving financial sustainability models, financial inclusion, and access. And I think that's the foundation of today's talk, is just access. It's access to market, it's access to verticals and adjacencies within the environments that we are in. It's access to data, to demographical, to certain demographics of individuals. And that's exactly what Tipped is. So definitely pioneering change in many, many ways. And I think through that, and something that I can definitely speak to, is resilience. And that hard resilience, as you were saying, Linda, it's a difficult journey. It's a hard journey. But with grit, which I think us as South Africans, we definitely have, and determination, we can definitely make a change and join in this movement as well. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kim. And last but not least, Madeleine, who I heard her story the other day, and it's a really interesting one. How are you, Madeleine?
Hi, good. Thanks, Deirdre, and thanks so much, everybody, for joining us this morning or evening, depending on where you are in the world. I think this is going to be one of those conversations where I forget that I am supposed to be doing the talking because I'm so interested in hearing everyone else's stories. Found myself sort of getting wrapped up just in the introduction. So it's going to be a great one. But yeah, I am so excited for Mzansi Led by Her. I think it's an initiative that has had so much intention and so much consideration. And I think so importantly is all inclusive, but really putting women at the forefront, but making sure that conversation is robust and inclusive of everyone. So just really excited for this to be on the panel side of a webinar. And I, through FDC, help founders and executives close what we call a visibility gap or an authority gap, because so much today happens through that first impression on LinkedIn. That can be that deciding factor whether somebody really trusts you with their business. So at FDC, we turn that digital presence into commercial credibility through our team. And then on the other side, just over a year ago, I helped co-found the Lekker Network, which I think, as most of us know, is really about connecting one of the most resilient, resourceful, energetic, connected communities in the world, and leveraging that power using infrastructure to make sure that those connections become tangible opportunities. So those are my two babies right now. And yeah, I am, you can probably hear by my funny accent, I'm not originally from South Africa. I was born and grew up in California and went to university in the west coast of the United States in Oregon, and have been in South Africa for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years in July. So have a really interesting dynamic relationship with South Africa. And I think I mentioned, Deirdre, on our call that, part of what I've gone through over the last couple of years is thinking wondering where I should be, and then making, similar to you, Kathy, I think that like very active decision to double down on what was headed in the right direction, and that very much is staying in South Africa, working in South Africa, continuing to build and grow businesses and connect with people here. So that's me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madeline.
Wonderful. Thank you for all the introductions. It's definitely going to be an interesting conversation. I just have a quick comment to make before I pose this question to one of the panelists on the panel today. And that question is, when you hear the phrase leadership, ownership, access, capital, what do you feel is the most urgent on your journey at the moment? I'm just going to give the panel a moment to think about that while I just make that comment. You know, Kimlin, your solution into the market that has been so pioneering came from, as you mentioned in our debrief call, from leading with empathy. And it's amazing what can be produced when you lead with empathy. And it also made me think of another member within our network, Julia, CEO of Reach for a Dream, who brings a dream to those children that are facing life-threatening illnesses, and whether that is taking them to visit an aquarium for the first time or see a beach for the first time. And the way that she's gone about it is by launching a campaign called Slip a Day, which I'm sure we all aware of, and just helping those kids' dreams come true. I find it phenomenal that you lead with empathy and what can come from leading with empathy. Just to get into the question, I don't know who would like to take it. But from hearing the phrase ownership, leadership, capital, access, what feels most urgent on your journey right now? Linda has a hand up. Go ahead, Linda.
When I look at all those elements, the one thing that strikes me is allyship.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps a learning through my journey is we can never do these things on our own. As smart as we all women are, as whatever experience we have, it's just finding the right people around you to be an ally. And then the second one is to find someone to be a mentor, or some people to be a mentor. And then the last one is sponsorship. So that's the first thing that came up with me when I think about this. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. That is a good one. Like we mentioned, we do need to work as a unit in order to get to where we're trying to thrive towards. Anybody else would like to answer that? Maybe Mabel? Oh, go ahead, Madeline.
Sorry, I'll just jump in. I think similar, Linda, to what you're saying, I think access to networks, access to the right kinds of rooms, access to the right kind of connections. Something that in thinking about this conversation that really kind of started to settle with me is just that the importance of networks are so complementary, right? Because they're so multifaceted. Everybody knows that there's so much to relationship building. And so even things like capital oftentimes can come through somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, which can be part of that allyship or part of that access, specifically to networks. So I think that women are incredibly good at networking. I think we're such beautiful relationship builders and maintainers, and we take on a lot of that connection responsibility. But I think we don't always see that those connections and those networks, we don't always see them as strategic assets worth investing in. We don't almost have that tendency to sort of make that conversion, if you want to put it that way. So I think that partnerships and community are really a huge part of what's critical right now.
Absolutely agree, Madeline. The access that a network provides you with is just layered of layered of layered, and a network is just so important to have. Okay, let's go to Jocelyn.
Yes, I think both with Linda and Madeline, there's a silver thread through all of this in terms of everything that you mentioned in terms of access, leadership, and then capital. Definitely access. Leadership also has the allieships in terms of, the sponsors, the mentors, and I think the women on this panel is very diverse in terms of what we bring to the table. There's the corporate girlies, I would say, and then there's the entrepreneur girlies. And always, I think the combination of being in corporate and being that sponsor, mentor, coaching, leadership capability. But I think it comes back to the access, because it goes back to how the network works and what we can leverage off each other. May it be entrepreneurial or may it be like in the corporate. Also helping corporate going into entrepreneurial or vice versa. That makes that access, and especially this network, more accessible to connect to people, South Africans across the world, to help each other. So I think I would go for access definitely, but then I think there's definitely a silver lining, like a silver thread through all of it, on the connections. Yeah.
Right. Kimlin, we'll take yours before we move forward.
Sure. I was just going to add to that and echo that really. I think, it's speaking about all the topics that you brought up, whether it's collaboration or whether it's access or capital, the underlying of that to me is teamwork and teams and collaboration, as has been said. I think as a woman, and particularly as a mom, I think so often we feel like it all rests on us. We've got to basically cover everything, be responsible for everything, have control over it all, and carry the weight of all of it on our own and forge forward on our own. And I think personally, from my experience and learning and where I am now in the journey, is so much of it is your teams around you. That collaboration and that support underneath you is so vital to it. And it's okay to hand some of that over. I think that's the biggest thing is, as I say, we feel like we've got to carry it all. But it's one of those things that as soon as you hand it over, how you just see things completely accelerate from there.
Thanks, Kimlin. We have a good sense of and thread of urgency that have gone around the table. I'm just going to hand it over to Deirdre. Deirdre, let's get a little bit deep and let's talk about how traction is built into real life.
Yeah, I think Sharell, I think that's probably one of the most important things to really understand. And I think it would be good to explore what that turning point in some journeys where things shifted from that promising to real traction and what actually changed in the practice. So Mabel, I'm going to ask you, because I was very interested in your Brown's food journey, because that for me is such a strong example of turning a market gap into the scalable business. So what changed when you moved from proving a product demand to building a retail ready products?
So a lot changed. Was it a lot? Yeah. A lot changed because all these dreams and fantasies I had in my head about launching great products and being in retail and buying and being able to buy a private jet in a year very soon became reality. And I had to start running an actual business that needed capital and operating funds and equipment, and I needed to be compliant and food safe, and I needed to find suppliers. And then COVID happened, and the Ukraine war happened, and load shedding happened. But in all of that, I'm happy that I didn't stay in my fantasy business in my head stage, because the business has grown immensely to date. So it's super important to have those fantasies and see the end product and see the end goal. But in all of this, what I am going to say, the biggest thing that changed was I had an idea. I told somebody about the idea, and when someone else started holding me accountable about it, I had to put it into place. So I started calling retailers, and a retailer gave me an opportunity, and I got into business, and now I can see my private jet a while from now. Just didn't happen in a year.
That's fun.
Yes, private jet. But I'm really glad that I changed from living in fantasy land to being in actual business. And I'm learning very quickly every day.
Thank you, Mabel. Kathy, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. I just wanted to say, from my perspective, going from the corporate and to a business on my own was super, super daunting in terms of in the corporate, within the whole setup.
Oh, it was just going to get good.
I know.
The suspense.
The cold weather in Dubai. Kath, you there? So while we wait for Kathy to come back, let's move on. I see there's a question talking about is the network going to be focusing on social entrepreneurship? So actually, let's talk to you, Kimlin, because in building...
There's somebody from Dubai on the system.
Kathy, you there? Okay, I'll carry on. Kimlin, in building Tipped, how much of your journey has been about building the product itself versus educating the market to understand the problem properly? And let's talk a little bit about how your business could also be considered as a social entrepreneurship type business, because that I would imagine is where you started. You saw a problem in society, you thought of a way of how you could help mend that, and you came up with this incredible concept, Tipped.
Thank you. Yeah, it is exactly that, and I think I have stumbled and fumbled my entire way through this. I went into it thinking, I feel helpless and all I want to do is be able to give and to show my appreciation and to say, I see you. Going into it thinking that was what I was solving, but only when I went into it and I saw and I had these beautiful light bulb moments through various pilots and understanding industries, did I actually pivot my entire business concept to it wasn't necessarily about solving for the tippers inconvenience or I think gap. It was actually around the recipient and seeing potential there and seeing, I think, just untapped opportunities whereby we could create an entire ecosystem to uplift and empower. And then stumbling further into it and actually going, hang on a second, how can I come in and actually revolutionize tipping cultures here? So, there's so many facets to it, and it's a journey that is forever growing. And it is, I think, it as a social sort of impact initiative, it is up there. And as I was saying earlier, the resilience that you learn through that, because you hit multiple barriers, and they are cultural barriers, they are educational barriers, they are barriers and access to tech. And it is exactly that. It's educating and marketing to both sides of that scale. The tipped icon is it's a Maslow hierarchy of a triangle of needs. And then the T being the almost seesaw, the tipping of the scales of inequality. But it's exactly that. It's speaking to both sides of that seesaw. It's speaking to the tipper and the tippy, and it's educating around that. And that is a challenge. It is really difficult. And it's actually our focus for 2026 is to market around that, but to educate through our marketing and to both sides, because it's so heavily reliant on those that give to understand exactly what you're trying to do and prove and change, and those that you're giving to and allowing that access to give them confidence and trust in your solution. And there's multiple barriers in that too. So yeah, not an easy undertaking, but as I say, kind of fumbling into it and learning as I go.
Not at all. Thank you, Kimlin. Linda, what was the one decision that you made that improved the outcomes, not just effort, but actual results?
I think I go back a few years ago in my career when I was trying to do everything by myself, okay? And I think the one decision I made is to trust the people and the managers and the leaders that I work with. And once you do that immense trust that they're not going to get it 100% right, they're going to need your support, but just trust them. Just trust them. So that Deirdre for me was the turning point in my career that took results to another level. Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. I think this distinction between effort and outcomes is really important, Sharell. So I think to move into access, because access is often what changes both the speed and the scale of customers, of these outcomes with customers.
And there was a strong consensus around the panel around access, right? And again, access is so packed. I'm going to ask, what type of access changed the trajectory for you? And maybe I'll take it back to Linda. And before Linda, you answered that question. I just want the audience to come in. You know, Linda is a global executive of Nando's, one of the biggest and funniest South African brands. I'd love you to just comment, what is your flavor of Nando's when you do go to Nando's and buy? Because I'm hoping to see my answer there. When tell you my flavor, I get the biggest backlash. So please give me the courage to mention what my flavor is. Please put your comments through. Linda, what type of access changed the trajectory for you?
So a few things is one is access to your tribe of people. And you know, there's a lot of corporate women here, there's a lot of entrepreneurs here. Access to people that have succeeded you, access to people that you admire. If you can get access to them, if you can have a conversation with them, learn what have they've done, learn their mistakes, learn just pick up things in terms of what you could apply in your journey. So number one is access to people that have succeeded and are where you want to go to. And the same thing applies for entrepreneurs as well, and particularly women entrepreneurs. If you could find an opportunity to have a mentor of someone that's already got a similar business to you, or in the business in the similar sort of setup, or went through the same thing that you've gone through. Like there's a lot of women from corporate that move into businesses. Talk to those women that have made that journey, so it gives you that advantage as well. Yeah.
Fully, there's nothing like that peer-to-peer sharing and knowledge that we can share to those that are walking on the similar journey to us. Kathy, being in Dubai, which is quite a culture-sensitive environment, as a South African founder, what did you have to do to build credibility?
Okay, interesting question. It is incredibly diverse here, and I do sometimes get slightly frustrated when I speak to my, friends in South Africa, and I turn around and I say, "But you're all South African, you've got to get on." Whereas here in Dubai, I was working in a project office of 20 people, and there were 17 different nationalities, and you have to be ultra sensitive, which is not something South Africans are generally known for. We also speak very quickly, and we are incredibly sarcastic, which is what I found out from the feedback in the offices when people didn't actually understand my humor. So it was a massive learning curve. And I think as long as you take that into account in whichever country or region that you're in, is that you've just got to be a little bit more aware and a little bit more sensitive to the people that are around you.
Thanks for that, Kathy. I just took a look at the comments there, and I'm so happy to see my answer. Nonkululeka mentioned lemon and herb.
Stop it, Sharell. No.
And you ladies, just a quick one around the table. Madeline, what is your flavor?
Yeah, anything low on the spice spectrum. I'm sad to say I can't do a lot of heat.
So be proud and say lemon and herb, Madeline.
It's lemon and herb or mild for me. There we go.
Fantastic. Linda, yours?
When you work from Nando's, you go from lemon and herb to mild to hot to extra hot. So after 12 years, I'm extra hot.
Kimlin, your flavor?
Definitely mild.
Okay. Deirdre?
My favorite is actually Mose and paprika. So I did the scale like Linda, and then I settled in Mose and paprika.
I've never tried that actually. Didn't know it was a flavor, to be honest.
Delicious. You have to try it.
Cool. Jocelyn?
Mild.
Do you miss Nando's? Do you have Nando's in Germany?
We don't have Nando's in Germany, but we do have some sauces in the store, some special sauces, yeah. But I do miss it a lot.
What's your flavor?
Mild.
Mild. Well, you can speak to Linda and, get some Nando's out there in Germany.
For sure.
Kathy, yours?
And we're very, very lucky because we do have Nando's in Dubai. And I have one in my community. And one thing about Dubai is delivery is incredibly fast here. So you order it when you're on your way home, and it's there when you get home from work. So I'm with you, though, lemon and herb.
There we go. I don't feel so alone anymore. Mabel, you put some Nando's sauce on your corn dogs?
Yeah, no. I have a teenager who drinks sauce. She genuinely doesn't eat. She drinks it. So we get hot chicken, and then the wedges drown in hot sauce. They swim in hot sauce because peri wedges aren't peri enough. So yeah, we like very spicy.
All right. I'm going to move the conversation to what does being connected and having access to a South African network unlock for South Africans abroad? And where does it fall short? And I guess this question is going to be addressed to either Justin, Kathy, Linda. And just before you get into the answer, in London, I want to speak about the value of being connected to a South African network when you are abroad, just with some tangible initiatives that we are running. In April, in London, we're having a book launch, and we're launching a book called Winning the Away Game that is put South African success stories from those that have moved abroad, built businesses or careers successfully. It's being put and compiled together by one of our members, Sven. So if you are in London or know somebody in London that would love to be part of the GES, part of the Lekker Network, please do join us in London. Another event that we're having is we officially activating the Island chapter, also happening in April. Do invite South Africans on that side that you know, or if you are based in Ireland. So, Justin, Kathy, or Linda, having access to a South African network, being South African abroad, what value does it unlock and where does it fall short? Who would like to go?
I don't know if I can go first. Oh, Kathy?
You go, Jocelyn.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I think I lived in 2 countries before. I lived in the UK before. I would say the network in the UK as a South African, meeting South Africans is much easier because you also have English speaking. You have the same sport, so rugby is a thing, cricket is a thing. So the connection for me was much easier in the UK, even though this was 13 years ago. And I only lived there for about 2.5 years. I moved to Germany, super culture shock, don't speak the language. Don't understand the culture, the food, anything. Thought that it would be easier connect to South Africans because at the time living in South Africa, they always say you connect to the Dutch, the Germans, and the Brits easier. I would say that was quite challenging. But what I created with a friend of mine, and I used to work in the sporting good industry in Adidas, we actually created a South African group. It started there, and we were about over 60 to 70 South Africans connected on campus, having lunches every month, and everyone would help each other. So if a South African moved with their kids to Germany, it would help them to show which schools, where to find certain clothes, things like that. So that community already started with us like connecting to South Africans. It's expanded quite a bit now since I've been here 10 years. And I must say there is groups of South Africans across of Germany in different cities even. So I'm living in Cologne at the moment and I have a South African group. Obviously, it's not that frequent that we meet each other, but definitely it helps, especially moving to a different country, not speaking the language. You have kids growing up here, so your kids play with other South African kids. Also, the language for the kids watered down if they are Afrikaans. So some of the families try to keep that intact. So I would say it's super important to just know where you're coming from and the resilience that South Africans have across the world. It's insane, like how people can help each other just by connecting to each other. And I think with the Lekker Network, it's broadened my connection, I would say, not just in like Germany, in the UK, I have quite a big network, but then obviously I go on these calls, just any call that we always register on, and then you have 10,000 people that's message just let's connect from Dubai, from Singapore, from Australia, from the US, and it just also help you to just, integrate also other people and other South Africans that want to come and live abroad and giving them, the heads up, like how it's actually because there's a massive culture shock if you move to a different country. I think the one thing is you're super excited to move because you're like, oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm moving. But the reality is like the culture is definitely a adjustment in terms of living. For me now, I'm 10 years here, so I drink the German beer, I eat a good schnitzel, so I've integrated quite well, I would say. But yeah, it was, I would say, the resilience of South Africans. A lot of South Africans move abroad for 2 years and then they're like, okay, now we're moving back home. But then obviously there's quite a lot that is in Germany, in the UK, in the Netherlands. You can go to the Netherlands or to the UK, you hear someone speaking Afrikaans and you were like, you can
Feel
chat
back
up
home.
with them. I mean, that's the best part being abroad is like you hear someone speaking Afrikaans or someone speaking any other 9 languages of our country, and you just ask, are you from South Africa? And you start having a fact chat with this person. And it's just that community that we have even overseas, like connecting while we're not even in our country. That's just super cool.
It is super cool. And you know, within the Lekker Network, we have this initiative called the Concierge. And that what the concierge does is whether you're traveling from South Africa to another country, you let us know the dates and the times that you have available, and we connect you with other members within that country. And in fact, in December, Chris van der Berg, one of our members, were traveling to Dubai and used the concierge services to connect with you, Kathy. So, Kathy, I just want to bring that question to you. Having access to a South African network, how did it feel to welcome Chris, never meeting him before, and in a completely different country? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, sure. I'd just like to reiterate what Jocelyn said in terms of, I think I feel more South African in Dubai than I did when I was in South Africa. And I will go out of my way to connect with South Africans. And I think that's what a lot of people feel when they're in another country. We definitely feel more South African here. One of the challenges when I was in corporate here was that the language barrier and all that sort of stuff and things like that was I needed to speak to South Africans. I needed to have that break where what I'm saying to a South African, they understand what I'm saying. I don't need to explain it. I don't, and so to go out and join councils and get involved with South Africans was super important for me to get that break and to get that connection to everybody.
Wonderful.
I also, sorry, I had 3 points that I wanted to say. Can I say them very quickly?
Yes, please, absolutely.
I'm making notes as I speak. A mistake that I did make, though, was that when I went into business by myself, I wanted to support South Africans in South Africa. So I tried to give a lot of business to South Africans in terms of marketing, et cetera, et cetera. But there was such a discrepancy between what is permitted in Dubai and what is not. And unless they had exposure to this region, they weren't aware of it. So it was small little things like a picture. But you've got in South Africa, it's 100% common where you're standing with a glass of beer or a glass of wine or something like that. That's a no-no in this region. And it was explaining the regional challenges that I had. It was just such a massive learning curve. And as much as we want to support, everybody back home, sometimes it's not that easy to do that. The other point I wanted to make was Dubai's culture is very much work, 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 and more work. And that's it. The regulated government hours for working here are 48 hours a week. Whereas in Europe, I know they're going less. 35 is looking good. So it's very hard to carve out that time to go to network.
Localization is so important when you're dealing with other markets. And again, that's where that peer-to-peer value really comes in through education and information when you have access to those that are in other global and territories.
Yeah.
Deirdre, let's get into some capital and commercial readiness.
Wow. So yeah, there's something I'm really curious about. Is where do you, and it's open to everyone on the panel, where do you see women most often underprice, under negotiate, or over deliver? And what has helped you personally shift that pattern? I mean, I think we all struggle with that, right? I mean, I have so many people phoning me going, "This is my price," and I'm like, "Oh, you're on drugs. That's far too low." So I see this a lot. So I'd love to hear from the panel. What did you personally do to shift this pattern? Kathy.
Just very quickly from my perspective, it's for women, I believe it's a massive, massive block. And I think it's something that needs a year workshop for all women. It should be taught at school. It should be taught as a subject at university. I have to fight with that every single day of my life because I don't believe still, even though I've got 7 companies in Dubai, I still don't believe I'm worth the money that I'm charging. And it's a continual battle, to fight within yourself to say, you've proven it. People are paying you. You are worth it. This is what you're providing. And I think it's super important that women get to realize what their worth is. And if we were more open about it, I think that would help as well. It's like a little secret. Nobody will tell you, well, what you're charging. Tell people, let them understand where they should pitch their level. And I think that was, from my point of view, the ignorance that I had was I had no idea what to charge when I started my property management business. And from ignorance, I went in with this attitude, well, this is how much money I need. If I have this many clients, this is what I'm charging. So therefore, that's what I'm charging. And it worked. It's the most bizarre concept, but it worked because I had no other basis to put it on. But I think we need a lot more education around that.
You're a woman after my own heart, Kathy. Madeleine.
Absolutely. Thanks. I think over delivery for women is just this like built-in or cultural thing, maybe a bit of both. We work super hard, and I think we compensate with effort. And so I think the pricing piece is really tied to visibility of delivery. If you are able to articulate the value, if you're able to articulate the difference between the starting point and the ending point, and position that in a way that is concrete and material, then that pricing conversation, I think, becomes hard to poke holes through because the results are there, the information, the impact is concrete. And I think that is what a lot of us take a little bit of extra time to realize, is that if the impact and the success is defined, then that pushing back on costs, which I've been so surprised by how that's just a part of culture these days. It's much easier to motivate for. It's much easier to justify when you say, but look what we've done and look what we do and look what we can continue to do.
Great points, Madeleine. Jocelyn?
I think it's definitely something to be coached on to entrepreneurs in terms of pricing, but also knowing your value and asking the price. I don't want to do a comparison because I know we have a lot of allies as male on here. Men is definitely more confident in terms of what they ask and how they ask it for. I think it comes down to self-trust and confidence as a woman to ask what your worth is, knowing. And just Madeleine, like you were saying, we overcompensate sometimes, we work harder, we want to showcase, we want to show the value, but at the end of the day, I think definitely, again, going back to Kathy also, is something that we need to be educated on in terms of like someone helping the woman. And it could be peer-to-peer, or it could be male to woman to educate us and basically tell us, like, this is your worth, this is what you should ask us. So we always doubt, like, even if you have a salary negotiation, you always doubt yourself, like, am I going in too high? Maybe I should go like a few thousand less. And then at the same time, you go in high and then you negotiate and you're like, okay, I can do with less. I don't think men drop down. So I think it's definitely a self-worth, self-confidence to work on, and self-trust that we believe we are worth like what we say we're worth and what we can deliver and bring to the table. May it be charging as an entrepreneur, whatever that may be, or even in salary. So I think this is a conversation definitely we can have more about, because it's quite more extensive in terms of how we look at it. And I would have loved the fact that someone, coached me and told me, negotiate for this, because I never knew all of these other elements. I mean, going through my career, obviously I know, and I was also on HR, so I know what is out there and what I can ask for. But if I knew this upfront, it would have been a different conversation, definitely.
But I think, Jocelyn, that's probably where I think men as allies become really important, that they really just help coach us, train us, make us feel more confident. Because I think it's a confidence thing as well. It's that imposter syndrome, and then we're going, oh my goodness, we can't charge this. And actually, because we over deliver, we should be charging more. So I think it's a great spot that men could actually just be allies to us and help us in that coaching situation.
For sure, 100% with you, Deirdre.
I was just going to add to that in saying I couldn't agree more. I think we underprice our value, and that just boils down to confidence as well. I've sat in many instances, meetings where I've thought, who am I to be sitting here? I've come up with this little tipping idea, and then sort of not really appreciating the value that you bring, and seeing, I think that it's just a different form of value, right? And that comes with experience, it comes with time, it comes with learning. And unfortunately, it is that time. I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was the owner of Gymshark, actually, and you were speaking about how as your business grows, you don't realize that you as the founder and as a person driving it, you're growing just as much. You're going through those teething pains, you're going through those growing pains and growing alongside with it, but your confidence grows in that too. And I think then understanding your own value and your own worth, and it's actually getting to the point where you can sit there and say, I am doing something of value here. And I do deserve to take this place and to sit in these conversations. And even though it's maybe coming from a heart-based point of view, which is completely different, maybe that's what's needed. And that's what's missing as well.
Linda?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to our relationship with money, specifically women.
Great.
We come from generations where either our mothers either didn't work, or she had a certain type of job, or our families don't come from businesses. So if we really unpack that relationship with money and coming back to, do we have a scarcity mindset with money, or do we have an abundance mindset with money? And then the third one is money responds to our work. So we put ourselves out there, I'm worth this, I can offer this value, I know I will contribute to X, Y, Z, whether it's in a job or whether it is putting that invoice through, Deirdre, or that quote through. It's saying, hold on, you're getting X number of years experience with me. And if you want me, you got to pay this.
Yeah.
Because money is going to respond to my worth. Yeah.
It's like, Linda, I mean, when someone says to me, what's your hourly rate? I'm highly offended, because actually you're not buying me by the hour, you're buying my 30 years of experience is what you're actually buying.
Okay.
And you can compare me to someone that's cheaper, but they may only have 10 years of experience, and that's actually what you're buying. Great point. Kathy, I'm not sure if that's an old hand or if you've got a new thought to add to the conversation.
I had a new thought that's a rite of passage is that when you're confident enough, if they're not prepared to pay you what you are saying that you are worth, it's okay. You don't need them as a client. And I think to get to that point is a journey that is really hard, okay, to get to that point. And if they're not prepared to pay you, it's fine. That is your worth, though, and you mustn't move.
100% agree. Anybody else want to add anything?
Deirdre, I'm just reflecting on what Kathy was saying and just to build on what I was saying earlier on as well. What I found is that when you compromise at what your worth is, whether Deirdre is putting that quote through on a many years of experience, of expertise that comes with it, or whether it is someone negotiating a salary, If you don't get that right at that junction, that person's never going to appreciate you.
100%.
If you don't put through, this is my word, this is what I value, they're not going to appreciate you. And number two is they're not going to truly respect the value that you're going to bring to the table. So sometimes it's so hard to sometimes just say no right at the beginning, and someone else, another customer or another employee is going to see my value and they're going to pay me what I'm worth.
So true. In fact, there's an interesting question here from Janine. In an RFQ and procurement process where the lowest price often wins, I mean, we've all, I'm sure, even been confronted with that. How do you stay confident in your value where you lose on cost alone? And at what point do you refuse to compete on price? Who would like to take that question? Linda.
This is what happens when you've been...
You sit in RFQs a lot, so tell us.
I'll tell you guys. So just a little secret. So agree, price is very important, especially when you're talking to retailers. But just a tip for people that are entrepreneurs in the room is always give your value, because value is difficult to quantify. Give what expertise you bring what service offering you bring what your delivery standards are going to bring all your accreditation, bring it up. As the owner, I'm available 24/7, because it's those components that cannot compete like for like with another supplier on price. And when people are looking at that, they'll say, oh, okay, hold on. I'm going to be paying possibly maybe a 10% more year. But with Deirdre, I'm getting so much of experience. She knows how to manage stakeholders. I'd rather pay the 10% more and I'm getting that value.
Great advice. Thank you, Linda. Sharell, anything you would like to add? Jump in.
Well, I think I'm ready to move to the next part of the discussion. And before I get into that, when we started this call, I did mention I have some exciting news for 5 ladies that are not yet members of the Lekker Network. In March, the Lekker Network is having their first inaugural summit happening in Cape Town on the 11th and 12th. We are welcoming 5 women to join us on day 2 of the summit. So if you are in Cape Town or able to be in Cape Town on the 12th of March and would love to just be part of the Gees and experience what the Lekker Network is all about, we have Barry Hilton that's going to be on the lineup, some live music, Spitbry, etc. Reach out to myself, let me know that you want to be part of it, and then we'll take it from there. But just going into the next part of the conversation, with Mzansi led by her, we've had some really tangible components of the topics that clearly are important to focus on. We're speaking about negotiation, how to place value on your worth by not compromising the reward or the money that comes from it, right? With Mzansi led by her, I would like to go around the panel to discuss what does it need to include on a consistent basis to continue adding value to both women in South Africa and abroad. And also, please, the audience, please do just jump in there. Let us know what you'd like to see come from Mzansi led by her. Who'd like to go first? Madeline, maybe I'll take it to you.
Well, I think this has been the $1 million question for us this year and the last year, Sharell, is sort of like how to create scaffolding infrastructure that really adds tangible benefit. And I think this is a phenomenal catalyst for not just platitudes, right? You know, we want to make sure that there is translation. And I think part of it is probably having closer, smaller groups or some kind of one-on-one or one-on-two mentorship programs. I think so much of what the Lekker Network has is a wealth of experience. And I think there are probably so many challenges that women in our network are going through that other women have experienced or know stories of other people who have experienced that. So I think these kinds of smaller, intimate settings focused on solving a specific problem or answering a very specific question, like how did your business go through their first round of funding? You know, just having a masterclass on specific business challenges and those sort of like permeable conversations. That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind, but I know there are many other things as well, so I'll stop there.
Thanks for sharing, Kathy.
Just two things very, very quickly. First of all, I'm going to be in Cape Town on the 11th and the 12th. So if anybody wants to ask me any questions, I'll be there. And then the second thing I was just going to reiterate exactly what's just been said is the mentorship, but maybe in a form where it's more in silos, that it's a little bit more specific. So you could target a certain area. I'm busy with an e-commerce company at the moment, and it's not my area of expertise at all. And it's app development, and I've got no idea. I sit in meetings, I've got no idea what anybody's talking about. And I just want to ask somebody some questions just for me so I can learn. But where do you go with that? You know, that is a very specific sort of field. So I'm thinking the mentorship 100% and in more specific fields.
Silos, which really speaks to Madeline's point about what challenge it is that you're facing. Let's create a topic around it and women that are able to bring some expertise and knowledge within that space. Thanks, Kathy. Linda?
I think two things for me is, I hear a lot of small businesses that are always looking for capital, okay? Whether it's a Mabel type of business or another business. Just Sharell, just an idea that came through. Could we just maybe start a South African Shark Tank or Dragon's Den?
Oh, let's do it, Linda.
Just a thought. It just came up today. Because there's just so many small businesses that just want access to funding. The second one is a lot of businesses are looking for access to opportunity. Whether they're doing HR services, change management, whether they're doing media training, or whether they're doing technology development, people are just looking for opportunity. So it's how we strengthen the tribe, have the conversations, and then find a way that there's a glue that sticks all Mzansi for her tribe, that I can trust you. Because you do business with people that you like, right? And to get that likability going, we have a commonality. We got the Lekker Network, we got Mzansi for her, and how can we connect? And then I'm saying, how can I open the door for this person? How can I recommend that person? Yeah.
We'll discuss that Shark Tank approach, Linda. Kimlin, is there anything you'd like to add? Mabel, maybe? Mabel, are you there?
Sorry, I'm here. I just couldn't, the unmute button refused to pop up. Sorry.
No problem.
So I'm hearing a resounding theme here, and I'm literally going to say the same thing. Anytime I get approached by an organization or by an individual who's starting a business or has already started one and is looking to go into retail, and has either quit their job or is thinking of quitting their job, they'll ask me, like, what are the lessons I've learned, or what can I tell them that's really important? And I'm going to say the same thing over and over. Please find yourself an accountability partner in a very intimate sense. And that's not just, and I don't mean a mentor. A mentor is great, but if you can be very intimate with your mentor, I mean, find an accountability partner who's going to be able to tell you what's not nice to hear. So don't just find somebody who's going to speak the language. Like, find somebody who's going to call you 2 weeks after you told them you wanted to do something, and they're going to ask you, so did you do anything about it? Who have you called? And then if you tell them, oh, I was, I had drop-offs in football, and they can be able to tell you, no, you're legit making excuses. It's a phone call. Please get up off your bum and go do it. And you find somebody who's intimate enough with you that you're going to tell them, listen, today I don't want to do it anymore. I hate my kids. I hate my husband. I hate everybody. And I'm sick of it. And I'm applying for jobs. Literally, somebody you can be snot-nosed with, because being an adult is hard. entrepreneuring seems like it's not lonely, like there are so many entrepreneurs, but it is a very scary, lonely journey to walk because no business is like the other. Customers are different, circumstances are different. So find yourself and a very intimate compatibility and accountability partner, somebody you can be very safe with, someone you can be able to tell, listen, I made such a loss, it's so bad, I think everyone's getting fired, and they're not going to think you've lost your mind. So I'm going to be like really, really, like really open. There was a time Nick Latouf, Lekker Network Nick, messaged me and he was like, hey, Mabel, how are you doing? And I literally said, I haven't slashed my wrists. It was that deep. He sent me a message. I was like, I haven't slashed my wrist. He's like, okay, cool. Listen, so I'm going to get you some people that you need to talk to. And I had nothing fun to say, nothing cute or encouraging to say. I didn't want to say, hey, Nick, oh my gosh, so I'm pushing these 4 avenues. I was literally like, I'm not dead yet. So thanks for checking on me. So you definitely need that because it gets very unpretty. It gets really unpretty. There are young entrepreneurs who will even have problems with data. You need to find somebody that you're going to be able to call and say, listen, dude, I need 5 gig and I need it yesterday. I don't need you to judge me. Or I need petrol money. So that's super important. You're going to be pretty at the meetings and put yourself together. But while you're grinding the grind and you're walking the walk, allow yourself to grow however you need to grow and find a person who's going to be able to withstand you ugly growing, but also hold you accountable.
You really spoke to me there, hey, Mabel. To have that space of vulnerability, but no matter how ugly it looks, but the honesty that is so needed in those, because that's when we really need allies, where we need to find some support. It's not in the great times when everything is going great. And to just have the courage to voice where we really are when it's really low. That's so important. And also the accountability side, right? It speaks to that I wish I had started a year ago. I wish I started 5 years ago. And avoiding that by having an accountability partner is just fantastic advice. Kathy, do you have something that you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say that it's also just as important to celebrate the little wins as well with the same partner. I mean, after 3 years, I sent a screenshot of my bank account to my accountability partner to say, and look at that. And that response was everything because, it's 3 years of everything that Mabel was talking about to get to that point. And you want that person to be as happy, as excited for you as he was commiserating with you during the whole process.
Agreed.
Thanks, Kathy. Deirdre, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I have so many questions and so much I'd love to add. So we need to do this again because we don't have the time right now. But no, I thought the conversation was really wonderful and I learned a lot. I love the concept of an accountability partner. And I think I could be pretty good at that. But anyway, yeah, it's been a great session. Thank you, Sharell. Thank you to the panel and to everyone that joined us for the great questions as well.
Thank you, Deirdre. I see, Justin, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to check with everyone because I will also be at the summit, the 11th and 12th. So yeah, I'm coming from Germany and I think I can meet up with Kathy. I saw Linda's on the agenda as well, so it would be great to connect in person, of course. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right, ladies, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and also with our audience. Again, to our audience on the other side, if you are keen to join the Lekker Network, please do reach out to either myself or Madeleine via our LinkedIn. And then again, to those 5 women who would love to be part of day 2 of the summit, reach out to me and let's have that conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We reached like 170 participants today in our conversation, which is quite an amazing number, and we'll continue having these conversations and building this out further. So from us, Mzansi, led by her, built for influence, built for impact. Thank you for joining us. Mzansi to the world. Have a great day further. Bye-bye, everybody.